Ever wondered how massive castles, cathedrals, and entire medieval towns were built, all without concrete mixers, bulldozers, or modern machinery? Medieval architecture wasn't just impressive, it was ingenious. These structures weren't slapped together with guesswork. They were painstakingly designed using nature itself: stone, timber, clay, water, and wind, all masterfully balanced into timeless, durable designs. Today we're going to explore the forgotten brilliance of medieval construction and uncover how their natural building practices not only shaped Europe's skyline, but can still influence sustainable building today. The medieval world was literally carved from stone. From towering castles to sacred cathedrals, stone was the ultimate symbol of strength and permanence. But not all stone was treated the same. Builders chose specific rocks for specific purposes. Limestone was popular in England and France. It was soft enough to carve, yet hardened over time when exposed to air. Granite, used in tougher terrain, was almost indestructible, perfect for fortress foundations. In Italy, builders used travertine for its golden hue and ease of polishing. Quarries were often dug right next to the construction site. This wasn't laziness, it was strategy. Transporting stone over long distances was a logistical nightmare, so the land shaped the building, quite literally. But medieval masons didn't just stack blocks. They hand-chiseled every stone, creating interlocking shapes that helped distribute weight and resist earthquakes. That's how cathedrals like Notre Dame still stand after nearly 900 years. Today, modern architects are revisiting local stone use for sustainability. Why ship concrete from miles away when nature already provides? While stone gave buildings strength, timber gave them soul. Medieval carpenters used oak, chestnut, elm, and pine, harvested seasonally and aged carefully before construction. Trees weren't just cut, they were selected. Builders knew which direction a tree grew and how that affected its grain, strength, and resistance to rot. The most iconic timber structures? Timber-framed homes with visible beams, whitewashed walls, and steep roofs. But even stone castles had wooden floors, roofs, and scaffolding. One stunning example of medieval timber genius: the massive wooden roof of Westminster Hall in London, built in 1393. Its 600-year-old beams still hold strong today, and not a single nail was used. Modern green builders now look to mass timber as a sustainable alternative to concrete, and it all echoes what medieval carpenters already knew: treat the wood right, and it will outlive you. Ever wondered how those massive stones stayed together? Lime mortar was the medieval answer, made by heating limestone and mixing it with water and sand and letting it cure naturally. It wasn't fast-drying like modern cement, but it was breathable and flexible, allowing buildings to shift with temperature and ground movement without cracking. In poorer areas, people used clay, mud, and straw, the classic wattle and daub, to build cottages. These mixtures were surprisingly effective at insulation, moisture control, and even soundproofing. Unlike today's synthetic sealants and glues, these ancient binding agents were fully natural and biodegradable. Some modern eco-builders are now returning to earthen walls and lime plasters, citing their ability to regulate indoor temperature and resist mold without chemicals. Medieval builders weren't behind. They were just ahead of us in working with the earth, not against it. Look up at any medieval village, and you'll find a patchwork of roof types, each telling a story about the local climate, material, and status. In regions with abundant stone slab roofs, like those in the Cotswolds, kept homes cool and fireproof. In rural areas, thatch roofs ruled. Bundles of wheat straw or reed were tightly woven onto wooden frames, creating surprisingly watertight insulation. Then there's the clay tile revolution: durable, fire-resistant, and often shaped by hand in local kilns. Monasteries and castles used tiles as a status symbol. And the genius detail? Roofs were steeply pitched, not just for rain runoff, but to allow warm air to rise and escape in summer. Today's roofing often sacrifices breathability for sleekness, but medieval roofing prioritized climate control, longevity, and harmony with the landscape. Medieval homes may not have had air conditioning, but they had something just as clever: designs that managed airflow and water flow with precision. Builders understood passive cooling. They placed windows across from each other to allow cross-ventilation, and thick walls held in cool night air. In warmer regions, homes had interior courtyards with fountains, reflecting pools and greenery, which cooled the air through evaporation. Water wasn't just for drinking. Stone channels and gutters directed runoff away from walls and foundations, preventing rot. Some towns even had underground aqueducts and cisterns to keep clean water flowing. Modern sustainable architecture is now rediscovering these ancient tricks, from green roofs to rainwater harvesting, proving medieval builders were far more advanced than we give them credit for. Let's talk cathedrals, not just churches, but architectural marvels that defy gravity and logic. Gothic cathedrals like Chartres or Canterbury used flying buttresses to redistribute weight outward, allowing for walls of glass instead of stone. Stained glass wasn't just decoration, it filtered sunlight, controlled indoor temperature, and turned spiritual spaces into kaleidoscopes of shifting light. Vaulted ceilings and pointed arches weren't just beautiful, they were mathematical solutions to hold enormous weight without collapse. And every part of a cathedral, from its stone floor to its spire, was built using hand tools, pulleys, and human muscle. To this day, engineers marvel at how these cathedrals stood through earthquakes, wars, and centuries, all without steel or concrete. Even medieval city layouts were deliberate. Towns were built with narrow, winding streets, not random chaos, but a clever way to channel wind and shade buildings from the sun. Buildings faced south to catch the most light in winter. Public squares were located near water sources and trade routes. Many medieval towns were zoned centuries before zoning laws existed, separating blacksmiths, with open flames, from homes, and storing grain in raised granaries to prevent mold and rats. Urban spaces had built-in resilience, compact, walkable, and self-contained. Ironically, modern city planners now look to medieval towns for inspiration, for their low-carbon, high-efficiency layouts. Medieval architecture wasn't just about survival, it was about harmony with the land. From stone and timber to clay and air, these builders created structures that breathed with the earth, aged gracefully, and stood for centuries without ever needing an HVAC system. And today, as we face climate change, rising energy costs, and an urgent need for sustainable solutions, the wisdom of the past is becoming the blueprint for the future. Whether you're a builder, a homeowner, or just someone sweating in a concrete box, remember this: they built with nature, and nature built them back. If you found something surprising in today's video, hit that like button, subscribe for more historical deep dives, and let us know in the comments. Which medieval building technique would you bring back today? And remember, sometimes the most advanced solutions are the oldest ones.